Hey everybody, good morning. This is Kyle Robinson. I definitely wanted to do something for my YouTube channel. I want to try to be as consistent as possible, even if it's trying to release at least one video a week. I want to go ahead and start with talking about a post I made on my Facebook the other day, and I'll make sure to put my Facebook link down in the description so you can... Well, actually, I don't have a Facebook fan page yet, but I made it on my personal page, but I'm going to eventually get a fan page going so that people can follow me. But it led to an interesting discussion on my personal page. So, what I want to do is briefly discuss this situation with Tekashi 6ix9ine, and this whole rhetoric that I see being used on black people regarding the situation about him snitching. So the post that I made on Facebook yesterday essentially and was intended to address the rhetoric that I see by being used by black people, accusing him of being a snitch, calling him a rat, calling him a snake, all this other stuff. And I wanted to address that rhetoric because I feel like that rhetoric points to a serious mindset in the black community that's been in the black community for a couple of decades. I personally think that culture and this mindset that I'm talking about, which is the no snitching culture, the no snitching mindset, it was glorified, in my opinion, by hip hop. And really what I mean is by gangster rap. It was glorified by gangster rap and all the rhetoric that came with it about snitching and all that. And I wanted to address the rhetoric, not necessarily the situation. And people kept saying, well, Kyle, you need to research the situation first because your point has nothing to do with the situation and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, I told one person, which, you know, one person was actually a good friend of mine and the other two people were just, you know, they don't like my opinion to begin with. But anyway, about anything I post. But anyway, and I said to him, well, the situation regarding Tekashi 6ix9ine may be irrelevant, but the rhetoric that I see from black people is not. And I'm touching on this because I feel like it's one of the reasons why we have such high crime in a lot of the black communities across America. We need to get rid of this no snitching culture. And as a matter of fact, while we're on this subject, we need to get rid of anything and stop patronizing contributing to anything that is bringing down the black community. And the no snitching culture and this no snitching policy is one of them. Now, the only thing that somebody said to me that may be a good point is that some people are in fear of snitching for their lives. But I think that we as a community need to come together because another point that I made in that same post and in that same conversation was this. Like, I found it interesting that black people, what they do is they go hard when they want to protest police officers for treating us unfair, or if a guy or a woman was beat by a white police officer, they have no problem protesting police officers. They have no problem protesting when they want justice. They have no problem protesting, like here in Pittsburgh, a gas station was protested until it was shut down because these two, the owner and the employee and another person that works with or is associated with the owner, not sure if it was an employee or what, but they beat two girls and they assaulted two girls. And it started with a situation where the gas pump malfunctioned or whatever, and it turned into them not wanting to give this young lady a refund, and it escalated into something that it should not have. And in that instance, I do think that it should have been protested, provided that that's how the story went. But if it was a situation where these young ladies went in there and initiated a situation that did not need to escalate, then I would have withdrawn my support. But based on the research that I was able to do on the situation and get the full story of it, it sounds like a situation that needed to be protested. I got something on there. that needed to be protested. So I definitely, I knew a lot of people that were on Facebook. They were recording live, and I lended my support, letting everybody know that I think it should be reported, and I definitely think charges should be pressed against those gentlemen, and that their business should have been shut down, which it looks like it may have been. So I mean, black people have no problem protesting that. But what I find interesting is that in the black community, at least from my perspective, I don't see black people keeping that same energy when it comes to protesting gangs. Going into a place where gangs might run the streets and run the place and keeps everybody in fear. And say, hey, we don't want you here. We don't want crime going on here. I don't see black people keeping that same energy when it comes to protesting drug dealers in our community. From what I understand, the numbers in terms of the black mortality rate, a lot more black people are being killed by each other than they are being killed by police. And here's my thing. When are we as black people going to start dealing with the issues that we have in our community? Do I think racism needs to be addressed? Absolutely. We need to make sure that racism and white supremacy, wherever it still may be existing, should be addressed and dealt with. I do think that there needs to be some acknowledgement regarding slavery and different things like that. And I even, to a degree, even though I am a conservative, I do think that there should be something given to black people in terms of reparations, because at one point when black people were freed from slavery, their reparations were going to be 40 acres and a mule until the Democratic president after Abraham Lincoln, which I believe was Andrew Johnson, chose to take that off the table. So I do believe that because we got no reparations, I do think there should be some form of reparations. I don't know what I'd personally want that to look like, but I do think that there should be some form of reparations. But at the same token, I'm looking at our community as a black man, and I'm saying, like, yo, we got to do better. We got to do better. That no snitching culture, that no snitching rhetoric. If there wasn't a mindset about how people sit and snitch, if there weren't any of those, if those ideas never existed, then I highly doubt that people in the community, in the black community, would be calling him a rat, a snitch. Now, granted, another point that was made to me was that, okay, but Cal, he's snitching because he got caught. He's not snitching for the right reason. So there has to be a quote unquote right reason or wrong reason to snitch. So if you believe he's snitching for the wrong reason, should he just keep his mouth shut? Also, from what I understand, he's snitching to avoid jail time. Not to mention, I seen a post on Facebook, and I'm not sure how true it is, because to be honest, the situation itself does not change my stance on the fact that we need to get rid of the no snitching culture. But to my understanding, these people that he's snitching on were a part of his crew, and they basically backstabbed him and were trying to betray him and betrayed him and all this other stuff. Again, I don't know how true that is, but the situation is irrelevant to my point. The only thing that's relevant to my point is black people's rhetoric concerning the situation. Why do we have a no snitching culture? And I think it's relevant for black people. Why do I think it's relevant? Because the truth of the matter is that there are probably a lot of black people, black young people, that listen to this guy, right? And the truth of the matter is black people are predominantly influenced, and they enjoy and are entertained by rap music. And a lot of rap music, if we're being honest, is negative. It's not uplifting to the black community at all. At all. You know, we got a lot of, there's so many conversations I see on Facebook about relationships and the interaction between men and women and stuff like that. And the truth of the matter is that a lot of the things that black women and black men don't want to see from each other in relationships, stuff that they claim to be tired of, a lot of that was influenced by the hip hop community. The side chick culture didn't just get birthed overnight. I remember when I was in high school, and Nelly came out with a song with Kelly Rowland called Dilemma. Y'all remember that? No matter what I do. Dun, 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 dun. That was a song about having a side chick. Period. So this culture of this side chick, side dude, or side piece culture, we'll call it the side piece culture, didn't just come anywhere overnight. For a whole decade, a lot of rappers were talking about having a chick on the side and rapping about it like the chick on the side was it, because you understand, like the message was you understand me and you understand your position and you understand that what I'm going through with my girl, or what I'm going through with my man, I can always turn to you and blah, 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 blah. And that's what's happening in our culture today. People with side pieces. So in addition to this Tekashi 6ix9ine, it's not just about the no snitching culture. We need to get rid of anything in the black community that does not uplift the black community. And so here's my thing. Black people, I'm not blaming you for anything, but I am saying that we can take a stand. Let's keep that same energy when it comes to protesting gangs, and let's let the thugs know, like, hey, we don't want that stuff in our community. We're tired of our children not being safe. Let's let these drug dealers know we don't want you selling drugs in our community. And yes, I even include weed in that, and I have my own position and my own stance on marijuana and weed, but that's for another video. But do I believe it's a drug? Yes, I do. And I personally think that the Democrats, who are the ones that mainly stand behind this, and there are probably some Republicans too, who stand behind the legalization of marijuana, I think it's really all a ploy to keep people in certain income brackets and of certain skin colors in a place of being, for lack of better words, docile. Now, people can argue with me all day long about, well, what about the medical benefits and blah, 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 blah. Well, you're trying to use the medical benefits to justify recreational use? That's not a good argument. I'm sorry. Not to mention the fact that there is CBD or marijuana that you can use without the THC in it that won't allow you to get high. And you can use it for medicinal purposes or health purposes or health reasons. But people want to stay justifying marijuana. No, I think that I personally think that I think that there's an agenda behind that. That's just my personal thought. Now, yes, it helps black people in the sense that a lot of people who went to jail for marijuana convictions are now released. But at the same time, I think that in the long run, I don't see how marijuana in and of itself for recreational use is going to be good for the black community. I don't see it. But again, that's another video for another time. So we need to do away with this no snitching culture. We need to do away with the thug culture and the bad boy culture. We need to do away with the thought culture. We need to do away with every culture that is not benefiting the black community. And to be honest with you, I honestly think a lot of these rappers need to be protested too. And I'm not talking about going to their house, nor am I talking about going to a record label and protesting record label executives and stuff like that. Well, maybe we should, because they're the ones that dictate the type of music that black people can and can't do. But I think that these rappers should be protested. I think, and when I say protest, I mean, let's stop listening to their music. Let's stop listening to any music that objectifies women in their body. That glorifies thug and gangster rap behavior and gangster culture and thug culture. Let's stop listening to rap music and hip hop music that glorifies the thug and the gangster culture. Let's stop listening to it. I don't care what rapper it is. Let's stop giving their music the time of day, because I don't care what nobody says. People could tell me all day long, well, Cal, just because you listen to something don't mean I'm gonna go ahead and do it. Just because I listen to these rappers and they talk about killing don't mean I'm gonna do it. Well, I want you to take a look at the last 10 I would even say 15 or 20 years, especially if you were in high school, and tell me if you don't see a lot of the things that were rapped about have now become a part of our culture. Now, when my older brother was coming up, there was a thing with NWA and Ice-T and them, and how they were claiming that they were rapping to bring light to what's going on in the community between black people and police. And maybe some of that may have been their intention. But now it's produced a hostile relationship close to 20 years later between black people and police. And I don't just mean some of the racist police that are in the force. I mean how people respond to police. That some black people, I do believe that they run because they're scared. But then there are a lot of black people who run because they're being rebellious. And they think that they shouldn't get caught by the police. And even if you think I'm wrong in how I communicated my point, that's fine. But I do think that a lot of the things that happens in rap culture does eventually get seen in our community. I mean, all we have to do is look back at certain themes in rap culture and in music. Look back. And if you don't believe that music has the power to influence, look back at certain things and see how certain things have become ingrained in our culture. So listen, we need to get rid of the no snitching culture. We need to get rid of the drug and alcohol culture. We need to get rid of the thug and gangster culture. We need to get rid of the thought and what do they call it? It's hot girl summer culture. We need to get rid of the twerking culture. Well, the twerking culture is good when you're a woman who's married and you want to do something special for your husband. But that's another video in and of itself. We need to get rid of all that stuff that's not benefiting the black community. And we need to start only listening to music that uplifts the black community. And I think that we should put pressure on rappers and singers to start producing music that is more uplifting to our culture. If we stop listening to their bullcrap and eventually say to them, hey, listen, we don't want to listen to your stuff anymore, and they start losing fans and losing money, ultimately record executives will have to say, okay, you know what? Do something inspirational. Do something that benefits love and marriage and family. Listen, the breakdown of family. Listen, in the black community, back in the day, sometime after slavery, the numbers in terms of family and the single motherhood rate was somewhere in the neighborhood around 75% of people were in whole families where the mother and father was present in the home. Nowadays, it's like 25%, if I'm not mistaken. And I'll have to double check those numbers, but it's lower than it used to be in times when things were worse for us. Now, granted, one of the things that contributes to that is the welfare state, because the welfare state, especially here in the state of Pennsylvania, says that, yeah, we're going to go ahead and give you government assistance if the father is not in the home. I even have my personal experience with that where I know that for a fact to be true. They don't want the father in the home, and they instituted it, and it hurt black families the most. But along with that, listen to the music. We rarely have any music that benefits marriage and family. I'm not saying there's not out there, because there are some songs, but in comparison to the music that is in our culture, it doesn't even compare. So, listen, y'all can let me know what y'all think. Comment below. I would love to continue this conversation. Just wanted to make sure I uploaded a video, give people something of value to think about, to really think about. Okay? So anyway, I'll talk to y'all soon. God bless you. And peace and Godspeed.